Welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Alondra and today we are making brownies. Truth be told, I've made this recipe probably 4 times in the last couple weeks because they're so good and we just keep eating through the entire batch. So I figured this would be a perfect recipe to add to our Back to Basics series. I think everybody needs a super staple brownie recipe that can compete with a box brownie. Now, I know that that's probably not everybody's opinion, but I grew up eating the boxes of like brownie mix, and so that's almost like the goal that I'm trying to reach when I make them at home. And in the past, they've come out like too dry or not with that really nice like crackly skin top. For today's video, I will list like the ingredients and the amounts on the screen as well as in the description below. So if you're having a hard time like keeping up or you want to follow along and make this recipe, you can find them in those 2 places. So for starters, we have 3/4 of a cup of butter and 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. I'm actually gonna pop this in the microwave. I don't want it to get too hot. I just want to get it to the point of melting, but we'll do this first so that way it has a chance to cool slightly before we use it in the rest of our ingredients. And while our butter is melting, let's go ahead and grease our baking dish. So I'm using, what is it? It's an 8x8 Pyrex square baking dish. For this recipe specifically, I'm just gonna spray it down with some cooking oil. I have this refillable sprayer that I got on Amazon that I just put avocado oil in. So we're just gonna give this a couple sprays and then set that to the side so it's ready to go when we need it. All right, so now that our butter and coconut oil is melted, I'm gonna set this to the side and we'll come back to it in just a little bit. In a small mixing bowl, I'm gonna start off with my all-purpose flour. Got about a cup of all-purpose flour. I have a 1/2 cup of cocoa, and this specifically, my mother-in-law showed me this, but it's that like extra dark, almost like a Oreo cookie type of cocoa powder. So I love dark chocolate, and this by far, I think takes this recipe like to the next level. If you don't have this, I think any old cocoa powder would still make a really good brownie, but 10 out of 10 recommend using this like Oreo cookie cocoa powder. All right, so we have 1 cup of flour, a 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. I've got 2 teaspoons of instant coffee crystals. Now I am a coffee drinker, but I also think that the bitterness of this like adds a really nice balance. So if you don't like coffee, don't include this, but I'm gonna put in 2 teaspoons of instant like coffee crystals. I have a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and this is a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I use salted butter. I know a lot of recipes will call for like unsalted butter so you can control the amount of salt. I'm not sensitive enough to notice a difference, and I like to use salted butter for most things, so I find it a little bit annoying to buy salted butter and salted. So I reduce the salt in this to just a 1/4 teaspoon because I'm using salted butter in the recipe. We've got all of our dry ingredients in there together. Again, we have 1 cup of all-purpose flour, a 1/2 cup of cocoa powder, 2 teaspoons of instant coffee crystals, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And that is all of our dry ingredients. In our large mixing bowl, we want to mix together our melted butter and coconut oil with all of our granulated sugar. So here I have about 1 1/3 cups of granulated sugar. And our melted butter and coconut oil. Now, this isn't going to like cream together like a room temperature butter and sugar would, but we do want to get this a good mixture. This step, I think, plays a big role in getting that like crinkly top on our brownies. All right. So again, we're not gonna cream this together. I don't even know that you can if it is a melted butter. I'm pretty sure you can't, but we just want to give that a really good mix to help kind of melt some of that sugar into the fat. All right, so the next thing that we're gonna add is our eggs and egg yolk. So I have 3 whole eggs here on the counter. I need 2 of them whole, and then I just need 1 single egg yolk. So, first thing I wanna do is separate my egg and my egg yolk. All right, we'll get our 2 whole eggs there as well. So we have our 2 whole eggs and our egg yolk. I'm realizing I forgot to preheat the oven. So I'm gonna pause where I am right now and go preheat the oven to 350 degrees. I know that I have said it before, but I really think the best time to do that is before you even get started. I am notorious at forgetting to preheat my oven until I'm like ready to put this in there and then realize like now we have to wait 10 minutes. All right, so now our 2 eggs and our egg yolk are well combined into the butter and sugar mixture. Last of our liquid ingredients is gonna be 2 teaspoons of vanilla paste. Realistically, this is probably a little bit more than 2 teaspoons. I'm a firm believer that garlic and vanilla are the 2 ingredients that you measure with your heart. Can you overdo it? Maybe. Have I ever overdone it? I don't think so, because this is my kitchen and how I like to season my food. So we have all of our wet ingredients mixed together very well in our large bowl, and then I have my dry ingredients that we mixed together at the beginning in our smaller bowl. Add all of that in there. I got these new spatulas for my birthday from my mother-in-law, and needless to say, thank you so much, and I love them. They're one of my favorite things to use in my kitchen now. Now, when she gave them to me, it was after lovingly realizing that I had only a few like silicone spatulas to use, but I feel like she was pretty specific. This was to make sure I had more and not to replace the ones I already have. So I still have my other ones that I have in the drawer, but then I have this brand new set of really nice ones. So shout out to my mother-in-law, she's the best. Like most of the batters or the doughs that you've seen me make on this channel, I'm mixing this just until about this point when it's almost fully combined. And I'm gonna go ahead and dump in my chocolate chips. I like dark chocolate, obviously. So I'm also mixing in some dark chocolate chips. I've done this recipe a couple different ways without any inclusions. I've done it with these dark chocolate chips, and then I've also done it with like a cheesecake swirl, which that's also fabulous. But I have the urge to do a different type of cheesecake dessert, which I may or may not be filming tonight. As we are transitioning into fall, right now it is the 2nd of September, so my son is getting ready to start school tomorrow, and that to me is the indicator that I can start bringing in some fall recipes, which I'm really excited to share. But I'm saving my craving for like a cream cheese cheesecake vibe. All right, so we have our greased 8x8 baking dish we got ready at the beginning. I've got my brownie batter totally ready to go, dark chocolate chunks and everything. All right, so let's get that transferred over into our glass baking dish. Okay, obviously, I don't recommend eating raw eggs. That's like the scariest thing. I know that technically flour is also a raw ingredient. Not supposed to eat raw flour. Our oven is still preheating. Preheat your oven at the beginning and you won't be waiting for extra time like I am to put your baked goods into the oven. That came together really quickly. I want to say maybe like, well, let's see. Timer says 15 minutes, but some of that was me also just getting ready and setting my camera up. So approximately 15 minutes until you go from all of your ingredients to in the oven. This 8x8 tray is gonna bake. Now, man, it really depends. When I do it with cream cheese, I have to bake it a little longer just because I get nervous that the extra moisture is gonna make it come out like a doughy. I'm gonna pop it in there for probably 35 minutes to start, and then I will check it and just make sure that it's set up well enough. But yeah, as soon as my oven preheats, we're gonna put this in there at 350 degrees for about 35, maybe 40 minutes. And then we'll come back and show you how it looks. Haha, perfect timing. Literally almost forgot to set the timer. All right, we will see you back in about 35 minutes. All right, so these baked for a total of 40 minutes at 350 degrees. They look perfect to me right now. I'm gonna wrap up cooking dinner, and then once these cool to like room temperature-ish, if we reasonably have enough self-control to wait that long, we'll come back and slice into them and show you what they look like on the inside. All right, I can't wait any longer. The glass is still warm, like I probably wouldn't be able to hold it from the bottom, but if you've been here for any of the other episodes of our Back to Basics series, then you know that I like fresh baked goods. So we just got done with dinner, made some pork chops tonight, and I am just mesmerized by the smell of fresh brownies. Now, I feel like there are two camps of people: those who prefer an edge piece out of a tray of brownies and those who prefer center. I personally like the edges, hence why I make them in an 8x8 size, because then like at least 50% of the brownies that come out of here have a crispy edge. See if I can get it to focus on. Taking a video of a brownie is kind of hard to do. Look at that melty chocolate. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Alondra, and today in our Back to Basics series, we made brownies. If you enjoyed today's video or want to hang out with me for more recipe shenanigans, then like, comment, and subscribe to With Love Alondra, and I will see you in the next one.